Hey everyone, Nin Cohen here from the Hyperactive Bookworm. I am talking today about the Sapphic Reading Challenge that I've been doing, and yay, I've hit the Penguin badge. So Jay is an author. I did a previous video with a Q&A with her about her book, Wrong Number, Right Woman. She's an incredible author, but she's also just amazing to her readers. And she has set up this Sapphic Reading Challenge with all these different levels and badges, and it's so much fun. And each week she does a blog about a certain category that you can read for the challenge, and she has recommendations for books, and it's just so much work she's put into it, and it's just so amazingly fun. Like, it's so cool. I have discovered authors, so many authors. All right, so category 3 is Return to Hometown. For this category, I chose Quinn Ivins' book, The Love Factor. It is amazing. What I love most about this is the nostalgia I felt for me. So The Love Factor is set when Ellen came out on her sitcom, and I remember it very clearly. It also goes into the Monica Lewinsky and Clinton scandal, and this book just really resonated with me. And then, you've mixed in the humor of 90s things as well, and that always made me giggle. Quinn Ivins has just done an absolutely magnificent job in capturing the climate and in capturing just the everyday people, how these huge events in this world has affected queer culture and just women's rights, and just shown a different perspective on a few things that I was shocked about. So I highly recommend that book. I thought it was fantastic. The writing is beautiful. All right, so we'll move on to the next book. So category 6 is Only One Bed, which is it seems to be a really common trope with women loving women romances, and it's so amusing if it's done well. And Alone by E.J. Noyes is done so well. This book, like most books, let me just put in there as well, that most books will fit into more than one category. These are just the categories I've put them in. Wow. This book it's an experiment, and not too spoilery, but Celeste has chosen to embark on this experiment, and it's so amazing with the things that you go into this story, and the story is almost second to the character and her psychological experiences and how she deals with this experiment of being alone. And it was just amazingly heart-wrenching and beautiful. It was definitely one of my favorite books. And since then, it was my first E.J. Noyes, and since then I've needed to read more of her books, because there's a beauty in her natural, I don't know, the writing comes very natural, but it's beautiful. It doesn't feel like it's been created to be beautiful. So yeah, that's Alone. Okay, category 8 is the character is a book lover. Now this book, okay, it's called A Woman Lost by T.B Markinson. I had a love-hate relationship with this book. The writing was great. The story was important, but you kind of wanted to know what the hell was going on with the main character, or at least I did. And she frustrated me because I was just like, who does this stuff? And then I had to remember her age, and the fact that what frustrated me the most was that she was so real. Like, humans do such stupid things and we don't understand it. And I found it really interesting, T.B Markinson's way she looked at how the main character sort of lives in her own bubble. And I think maybe that's why it hit me so much, because I think I related too much to the main character. I'm like, oh, yes, those things annoy me about myself. And that's why it's annoyed me. And since then, once I went and reread it, and I was like, okay, I really love this character. I love that this is a series because I can't wait to read more of it. Okay, category 10, speculative fiction. My favorite category. It's what I read the most. It's what I write the most. However, still getting into reading Sapphic speculative fiction because I didn't realize there was so much out there. Something's definitely, as crazy as this world is, and has become since the start of 2020, there are some benefits that have come out, and it's reaching outside of the bookshops I could get to. Because now I'm looking more online and I'm looking at what's out there, and there is so much more out there, and it excites me so much. So speculative fiction. The book I've chosen for this, oh my gosh, it's called The Caphenon by Fletcher DeLancey, and it's like Star Trek Voyager meets Stargate, with overtones of Sapphic versus the whole undercurrent, and oh my god, I'm in sci-fi bliss. Like, this book was phenomenal, and the best part about it is the things in all the older high sci-fi books is that I would glaze over when it got too technical and it was not explained well. There's none of that in this book. There's never a time where I sat and went, what? Because what you need to know, you know. And the dive into different cultures and kick-ass characters, and it's delicious. Absolutely delicious. The writing is beautiful, and it's this total mix of, you know, the duty versus morals versus emotions, and everything gets mixed up, and characters that are so, you think they're one thing and you see that no character is just one thing. Like, everyone is so realistically in depth and they have contradictions, and it so beautifully flows that you get this tension and then this relief where you can breathe and have a few laughs, because there are some pretty damn funny lines in there too, and it's just brilliant. It's one of the books that I'm waiting to get the rest of the series. I want it in paperback. I want it in every form that I can get it, because it's so much. It's the TV shows I loved in the format that I just devour. So that's brilliant. Character 13 is a longer book. Longer book is, there's been a few debates about what's longer book, but this book I actually listened to as an audiobook, and it was over 20 hours. Let me tell you, I was wanting more hours. That is how much this book was just, it just flowed. Like, it's called Those Who Wait by Haley Cass. Characters are just beautiful, and they're kind of contradictory, and they balance each other so beautifully. And when I was listening to this book, I can distinctly remember I was listening going, yeah, this is really good. I love the rhythm of the words and the sentences, and the story is just, it's flowing without you realizing really, you know, oh, this is the next point. It's just life. But then I remember at one point, one of the characters just kind of stops and has these emotions, and I burst into tears. And I am not the kind of person who will cry in a book. I love books. I feel them endlessly, but they will freeze me and they will break me. But so rarely do I cry. Oh, I cried. I was stunned. I had no idea where it came from. And I was like, what is this thing? But that's like one of the best things I can say about this book is just it pulls at everything. So that's those who wait. Okay, I've got to move on. Okay, category 16 is Grumpy and Sunshine. Now, there's so many books that have Grumpy and Sunshine, and it's so fun because they're the opposites to each other, and they kind of, I guess the aim, or what it seems, the sunshine will help, de-grumpify the grump, and the de-grump kind of digs deeper into the sunshine. They're not this shallow, happy. The book I've put this down as is Breaking Character by Lee Winter. Lee Winter's amazing. I have yet to read anything by her that I'm not wanting to devour, not wanting to read through in the same day. I want it completely. I just want the story. Come on. And you go in for the story and you get sucked in by the writing. She has this beautiful way of punching the words that they mean so much more than just simple words. There's so much more to them. And Breaking Character is just, it's amazing. So it's about two actresses, and one is, the bitch on set sort of thing, and the other is this, she used to be a childhood actress, and they come to work together, and it's just, you dive so much into who they are, and of course nothing is what it seems, and it's so gorgeous. And I have to say, one of the worst bad guys I've ever read, from a emotional, manipulative point of view, is definitely in this book. And it's so well done. It's so realistic. I cringed, but yeah, I totally got how real this person was. And that's pretty much just everything that you can see the characters, like they're tangible people. So that's category 16. Category 17 is character who is a teacher or a professor. I chose Finding Forever by Jamey Moody. It's actually the third book in a series, and I think that was my biggest issue with it. Was it's not that I didn't understand the story, but the first two chapters are a bit intense with lots of characters that I got a bit confused with to begin with. But I think if I had read the previous two books, there would have been no confusion. That would have been fine. So that's pretty much something just to do with, yes, it can be read on its own, but I think you might get more out of it if you'd read the previous two books. That's what I think. Jamey Moody's books, they're low angst, and they're happy, and they're a nice, easy read, and that's quite beautiful. Sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes we just need to have the ones that just, they heal us. They make us smile. Sometimes a palate cleanser between intense books. I love those kind of books, and it's just that happy kind of story. So yeah, that's character who is a teacher or a professor. Category 25 is your favorite author's favorite book. Well, I have a lot of favorite authors, but one of my favorite authors, especially in Sapphic, is Lee Winter. Favorite book is The Lily and the Crown by Roslyn Sinclair. Wow. Okay, so The Lily and the Crown is a sci-fi. I think that's what it's categorized as anyway. I would think so. But it's just it's so delicious. It's pirates in space, and it is a botanist, and there's just awkwardness and hilarity, and it's just fantastic. It's not too intense on the sci-fi side of things. Um, so if you're worried about going too heavy into sci-fi, I have a friend who actually does not like. Well, no, doesn't like. She's coming around to it, but she's never really read anything not based in real world. And she read this and she enjoyed it, and I was so excited that I could recommend a book, and that someone would give it a try who wouldn't normally read it. And it's one of those amazing. Oh, I just think it's so beautiful, and it's the character Ari, I think she's hilarious. Like, she's so awkward and fantastic, and then Assistant, who's the other main character, is just so tall, dark, handsome. And it just works so well. So yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, category 34 is character works in the food industry. For this book, I chose Clare Lydon's London Calling. Claire is amazing. I did a Q&A with her as well, and she's so lovely, and her humour is just everything, and her accent. Gotta love a British accent. Anyway, so I finally got around to starting her London series, and London Calling, it was such a great book to start a series with. Like, Jess, the main character, you feel for her from the get-go. Like, she gets her heart broken in Australia. Sorry. And then she moves back to London. And she goes back, but she doesn't want to go back. Like, she doesn't want the life that she had back then, the stresses of the corporate type of work. So she kind of spontaneously finds a job in a cafe. And the thing I love about that is that's really sometimes what life is. Like, you don't know what you want until it's just there. And you don't know. And it does sort of find you as much as you find it. And the humor in the book is great, and the just the kind of face palming moments that Jess has are fantastic. Clare Lydon's books I love because they're also the quick, happy, at least in the end, books. And like she says on her podcasts and stuff all the time, she'll always write a happy ending. And it's nice to know that when you go in, you're going to have a happy ending. And yeah, so that's a really fun book. All right, so category 35, reread a favourite. Yeah, I did a video on this because it was awesome, and I read it in like 3 days. Gideon The Ninth by Tamsin Muir. Oh, it's just so beautiful. And it's definitely a favourite. It was one of the first books I read that made me go, wow, I can mesh the things I love together and create a beautiful piece of work. Not that, I would just, her writing is so incredible. She has this literary prose mixed with this science fiction, darkness, and I haven't seen that a lot, and every line, it was delicious. Like, when I first read the story, it was like, this is so intense. I didn't know what to expect, but the story was full on and it was brilliant. And then when I reread it, I'm like, oh, but every single line, every line is just poetic. It just brings something more, and it makes you just come along with it. Yes. Okay, so they're the 10 that I got for my Penguin badge. And I love my books. I recently listened to a podcast where an author was saying we should be reading the things we love. And there's no time in this world to finish books that we're not enjoying. And so I rarely have negative reviews, because I find recommendations for books from people that read the similar things or have liked the same things, or I find that. So while, I know no book is perfect and no book is without its flaws, but you read what you love and let it make you happy, because that's the best thing. So that's my Sapphic Reading Challenge for the Penguin badge. The next badge I think might be Squirrel. I could be wrong. Squirrel or Bear. Can't remember which is 20 and which is 30. But I'll try and do a video for the next 10 as well. And yeah, let me know if you're doing the Sapphic Reading Challenge, or if you've read any of these books, or if any of these books sound like something you'd like to try. Let me know. And yeah, if you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button. Thanks, y'all.